start with the invocation from Central United Methodist Church. Pastor Jehu.
Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here with you today. My name is Ji-Hoon Lee. I'm a pastor at Central United Methodist Church here in Oskaloosa. So I'm grateful to join you for this meeting, and I thank you for the opportunity to open our time together in prayer. Let's pray. Gracious and loving God, we come before you with gratitude for this opportunity to gather and seek your guidance. We lift up our city, its residents, its leaders, and all who serve in this community. Bless this council and all those entrusted with decisions that impact our lives. Grant them wisdom, courage, and compassion as they work for this common good. Help us to seek unity and understanding, to listen with open hearts, and to serve with integrity and humility. May we be mindful of those in need, strive for justice, and protect the dignity and well-being of every person in our community. As our nation prepares for the election, we pray for your guidance over the candidates, voters, and leaders, that respect and integrity may prevail. May we seek leaders committed to justice. Bless our efforts today, and may the work done here bring peace, progress, and hope to all. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Allman? Here.
Caldera?
Here.
Drost?
Here.
Ferguson?
Here.
Ibrahim?
Here.
Ocean?
Here.
Okay. Next item up is the opportunity for community comments. This item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're included in the current agenda. The community is encouraged to speak before the mayor and city council, asked to keep statements brief, time limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked of the city staff, the council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council. So that way concerns can be properly researched and perhaps answered away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. In essence, what do you want us to know? Is there anyone like to speak tonight?
Mark Tennyson, 1244 C Avenue East. I just have some comments about the 911 emergency services meeting that you guys just had. I know budget is a huge thing for everybody, but what we don't want to see, I mean, I know a few people that, I don't know if you knew everybody that was here, but there was people from the hospital, people from the 911 center, sheriff's department, police department, fire department, and we're all concerned about this. In the last few decades, we have gone through a period of not being able to talk to anybody on our radios. Literally anybody. I could stand here with the radio and try to get a hold of the 911 center and it wouldn't go through. If you do go to a contract system where the county takes care of theirs and we take ours, and let's just say, for example, we contract with Pella, that's a completely different system. So either you're going to have to upgrade them or you're going to have to upgrade us. Be able to talk to them. And what that does is it separates us again. Now we can't talk to the ambulance, we can't talk to the sheriff's department. If you separate that, you're going to have to apply for an FCC license. I can tell you that right off the bat, because the one license covers the entire county. And if you're going to go to 2 separate systems, you got to have a separate license for that. The way I've been told is the other cities, New Sharon, Fremont, University Park, are paying a fair share of the 911 system, more than, not more dollar-wise, but more citizens of Oskaloosa are currently paying. One of the reasons why all these departments were here is because this is the first time that we've had an opportunity to hear this. You guys saying you've been talking about this since 2011. Here it is 2024 or 2021, and now it's 2024. This is the first time that we've heard about it. That's why you had two dozen people here. We want the information. Is if everybody in this room dialed 911 right now, it would go to our 911 center. And if you contract police and fire with another county, our 911 center is going to take that call, and they're going to say, "Well, I got to put you on hold and transfer you to another county." That is going to delay every emergency response call. And as far as the fire side goes, if there's a structure fire, a fire doubles every 30 seconds. So if you're delaying it 30 seconds to a minute before we even get dispatched, you could imagine what that's going to do to someone's house, and hopefully no one's trapped.
Okay, Mark, we need to wind it up in
Okay.
3 minutes.
Yeah, I think I've hit all my points, so thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
I appreciate the info.
My name's Dave Dickinson. My wife and I were both born in Oskaloosa, basically lived here our whole lives. We live north of the high school, have 10 acres there, and owned it for 40 years. I was approached in the spring about a possible development going in the school around there. I was told it probably wouldn't happen until next year. All of a sudden it comes out, potential annexation. We hear that the school board and the city are doing some private negotiations for land of over 100 acres for trade or swap. Have not really given the property owners adjacent, many like us who have owned for 40 years as neighbors, an opportunity for input in. Looking at 80 duplexes, 160 low quality duplexes, rental units from an out-of-town owner that will be put on that property right next to our school system. The school has that property, it owns it, it really doesn't cost it anything because people maintain it for the school system at no cost to the school system. It's always there if they have ever a need for expansion. Once you build 80 duplexes, which is only phase one potentially, on that ground, it's gone. There are a lot of other ground around Oskaloosa, not right next to the school. And I was on the school board 20-some years ago. There are needs that we don't know about at this point. And once you give away ground, it's gone. And as a neighbor there, paid taxes for 40 years, half of which goes to the school system, I would think we would at least get to bid on it. And I'm not sure that the rule waiting to see what was going to happen, because I didn't want to be the one yelling fire and having people saying, well, he's just against progress. But there have been a number of people who have come out with concerns like ours. I just want to say that some of the people in the school board and so on are saying, well, we're okay with it. So I publicly want to say that my wife and I and our family are not okay with it. And we think we should have an opportunity to at least have a chance to purchase the property that is adjacent to our property without being forced to have low-income type duplexes built there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on. Oh, sorry, I missed you.
Meredith Anakoven, 2560 Highway 23. I am a Mahaska County resident, but I have an issue that would be important to all residents of Mahaska County and surrounding counties. I don't know if you all are aware that the UPS Customer Service Center is closing on Highway 23. That is actually within the city limits. This small station outpost has been an important fixture for shipping needs of our community for over 30 years. With my business, Barn Swallow Flowers, I don't know if you've heard of us, on Highway 23, I now rely on having same-day drop shipping access for what has amounted to this year of $2,600 alone. We anticipate using $10,000 of shipping next year for a new I've developed called the compostable vase. This small customer service room is not a brick and mortar store and is located inside the UPS fleet warehouse. As you've noticed, there's trucks sitting there constantly, which is expected to remain open. But the small room, like a 10 by 10 room, this small space is critical to our community. There are various businesses, medical facilities, veterans, if we have a van load of packages, which often happens, we can back up with our vehicle to the warehouse and drop our shipments on the conveyor belt, and they can be easily scanned in, which takes barely minutes of time. We can also get our packages out on same-day orders, which is really critical to customers wanting to buy our products and get them really quickly. Also important for customer retention in a rural community. You can imagine dollars only go so far. I'm not sure that you all are aware of how critical the shipping service is. As it's removed from our area, we will have to drive to Indianola to have the same type of service. Ottumwa Center is closing, or we'd have to go to Des Moines for more flexible hours. I can't imagine having to drive during the winter months to ship our products and brave other weather conditions, also managing last-minute services and trying to hire new personnel or deal with extra costs associated with this type of change. Something to also be aware of is that if the same-day drop service is eliminated, you can also not book a truck that day to come pick up your packages. That would require booking a truck for the previous day to come the next day. And they only show up if they have time. So if there's high critical needs in our area for delivery, they may not show up. And trucks do not casually stop at every residence and every business just to see if you have a package available. It's a very regimented system. It's the way it is for a reason. And I know how stressed UPS is. I talk to the drivers constantly. So how are the already stressed UPS fleet going to manage an intense volume raise of picking up packages in addition to delivering? And then how would this look during the holiday season and other peak times? So placing the responsibility of holding packages for picking up in other businesses has been mentioned, but I can tell you with over 20 minutes of shipping history that this does not work because your insurance doesn't matter. There's no security in place to make sure your package this is really critical. Please give me the time, please.
30 seconds.
Just in my opinion, after working with various shipment platforms for over 20 years, packages should be professionally held at that business. So UPS needs to be held accountable to keep a critical access service open, especially as it relates to customer critical shipments that need overnight delivery. An example of this overnight delivery is for flights, shipping critical access things like medical lab results for both people, pets, and livestock, which is prevalent in this area. So I just ask you to consider this. They're planning to close it November 17th, and we have 2 weeks.
I didn't know it.
Thank you.
Did you know it? I didn't know it.
Judy Granendike, 516 North D Street. Mr. Mayor, Council, I have some happy news. I just wanted to update you on some of the things our retail group is doing, and we just completed the Booze and Brews a couple weeks ago, which we felt was a really huge success. Our mayor was part of that.
I haven't been at Hot Shots for a lot of years.
It was a good time, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was good.
So we have an official Booze and Booze cup for you.
Oh, wow.
As a thank you for being a judge. But we did feel like it was a very good experience. Of note, we had several people from other towns again. So we had Pella, Sheraton,
Nice.
Centerville coming in to our events, and we feel like that's a huge benefit right there. Hot Shots had record sales that night, so we feel like that was a big plus for him, for Freddie. What did we do? Oh, we had a huge photo booth in the mall that was beautiful and good success as well. So just want you to keep watching for things that we're going to be doing in the future. Next one up is Pink Friday, coming up in a couple weeks. So watch your social media, watch your newspaper, listen to the radio. We've got it all covered. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What was the name?
Peak Friday, I think she said.
That's the name.
Pink, oh, pink. Sorry, I couldn't hear. Okay, pink.
Oh.
Scott Van Veldeisen. I live north of Oskaloosa, actually in Massachusetts County, but I'm here because I was notified of annexation possibility by the city of property adjacent to me that I own next to the school property. I can't really say it any better than what Mr. Dickinson said. I just want to echo his comments, and I agree with him. I'm concerned about the type of housing. I'm not going to try to argue with you or debate with you about Oski needing housing. I believe they do. I don't have enough facts to say what kind of housing they need. I've done my research a little bit on the contractor that's potentially going to be in this area. I'm concerned about some of the work they've done. I've talked to some contractors. They have similar concerns. Just want you to keep an open mind about the type of housing and where you're putting it, how it affects our schools, how it affects adjacent landowners, and the big picture. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on. Next item up is the adoption of the consent agenda as presented or amended. I didn't see anything that I really wanted to call out. Everything is pretty routine in nature. Do we have a motion of support?
Move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Hermson?
Yes.
Ibrahim?
Yes.
Ocean?
Yes.
Almond?
Yes.
Caliger?
Yes.
Drost?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. First item on our regular agenda is a presentation from Oskaloosa Main Street.
These guys are working overnight.
Thank you. As Community Services and Park and Recreation Director, I've had the pleasure of working with Master Chamber and Oskaloosa Main Street. And as of October, so as of last month's meeting, I have served on the Oskaloosa Main Street Board for 1 year. So at this time, I would just like to welcome Beth Brostrom and Angela Foster to speak about a few of the Oskaloosa Main Street events.
Thank you, Stu. Good evening, Mayor and council members. We actually have 3 different things we'd like to talk about. The first one is Jennifer Maxwell's business, Salvage Designs, was named Small Business of the Week on October 8th. So she will be having a open house, and at that time, a representative from Joni Ernst's office will be down.
Nice.
And hopefully we will be able to send you out that media that you might be able to attend. So this is a big honor for Jennifer and for the city of Oskaloosa. So the second one is we have a grand opening and celebration for the American Table and Post Office Box on Wednesday, November 13th, and we would like you to attend that.
46.
I think several of you have gotten invitations on that, so if you have, please let me know. And then the third item we have is our Economic Vitality Committee has a fundraiser every year, and this year we are doing an Elevate foodie tour on Small Business Saturday, hoping to get some people in to visit our downtown restaurants and also hit our retailers as well. So
What we are doing is we will be selling tickets before the event and at the event. And we have, what's exciting news is 10 eateries downtown that will be participating on this. And Beth is going to let you know who these eateries are.
Okay. Yes. As you know, the Economic Vitality Committee, of which there are 4 committees on Main Street, and by the way, we really appreciate all of you looking at the budget and helping Main Street, and we appreciate you as a city council here. Okay, we've had Elevate tours before. The first one was 2 years ago, and we toured second floors of businesses to kind of promote the Governor Reynolds second floor housing downtown, making it a busy downtown. Last year, we had an Elevate tour, and we were naming it Imagine because we had 5 first floor businesses, and by the time we had the tour happen, those 5 empty businesses, which we were to imagine what you would like there, were filled. So we heard the 5 entrepreneurs' stories of those businesses. Well, this year we thought we'd have an Elevate tour. We've gone some different stretches, but then we realized that we are a community that has 11 eateries in our downtown district. 10 of them will participate, and those 10 will be, okay, we'll start on the north side, go clockwise, help me on this. Old Post Office. And this means, our tour means that you're going to get a sample of what they are known for as you do this tour on your own for 2.5 hours. Okay, Old Post Office, Untamed Nutrition, Bridget's Pub House, Spirit Cafe. They won't be open, but we got an inside deal of getting to share their monster cookies.
Oh, they're fantastic. About one today.
Then we have Julie's Cafe, and we're working with them yet because they're only open Saturday mornings, and we're going to try and get them included. Smoky Row, Pizza Ranch. Tasso's is not participating. Pizza Den, yes, Pizza Den, that corner, that's right, yes. And we came up with the name. We were going to call it Elevate Salivate, but you know my committee. My committee is Eddie Pearson, Mike Gipple, and Brian Myers. Don't you feel sorry for me?
That says enough right there, ladies.
Instead, we named it Bon Appetit on Oskaloosa Main Street.
Oh, nice.
I think that's...
And that date is what?
That will be Saturday, November 30th.
30th. Okay, thank you.
It'll end just before Merry Little Christmas Downtown.
And as the invites are finished up, I will bring them to City Council on November 18th after our Main Street board meeting.
Thanks. Thank you.
And I would just like to echo what Beth said. Your support for the Chamber in Main Street is very special to us, and we appreciate that collaboration.
We appreciate you guys too.
Thank you. $1,750 to Martins and Company CPA LLP and $850 to the Auditor of State. Before we do that, I think it's important to get a presentation from Richard Atterbury so we can answer the question, did he earn this or what?
Your mic's off.
You're muted.
You're muted. It's always so hard to figure out.
Yeah.
I don't know, Mayor, maybe you didn't earn it.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe he's billed hourly, he's trying to get a couple more bucks.
Is he muted on my side or is he muted?
Yeah.
Can you hear us?
So Richard, we have a chat coming your way, if you would look for that.
I think you probably heard us.
I think you need to
thinking. While we clear up this technology issue, maybe it'd be best if we move on to item C and then, okay?
You want me to go ahead, or you go on with other stuff?
Nope, go on ahead.
Okay, sorry about that, I don't know what was going on there, but wouldn't let me unmute, but, I'm Richard Asbury, CPA with Martins and Company, CPA LLP in West Des Moines, Iowa. And we performed the audit of the city for the year end June 30th, 2024. So I'll just give you a kind of quick rundown of the audit and financial statements and with it, and thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. I want to thank the whole staff, Maul, Amy, Pam, and everybody. They were all very cooperative, very helpful in getting anything we requested or needed in order to do the audit. You all should have a copy of the audit report, whether you have a paper or PDF copy, I don't know, but hopefully you all have a chance, have it, or at least maybe had a chance to look at it. Just kind of highlight that the report's kind of broken up in different sections. Our opinion is called the independent audited report, which is on pages 5 to 7. The management's discussion and analysis is on pages 8 to 14, which is kind of a recap of what happened during the year, what's up, what's down. Kind of gives you a quick overview of what the rest of the report has to say without having necessarily go through the whole report. Pages 16 through 22 are the primary financial statements for the city. 23 through 44 deal with what we call disclosures or notes to the financial statements, which provides various other schedules and various other explanations of things that have gone on, things that are there that are to be disclosed in terms of list out your debt issues and a number of other items in there. Following that is what we call other information, which is probably the most important, or one schedule that you maybe would be most interested in terms of the other information might be the budget comparison to see how you did compared to the budget for the year. Those are on page 48 and 49. And then there's other supplementary schedules after that that generally kind of recap some of the funds, some of the smaller funds, and as well as breaks down a separate schedule on some of the capital projects activities for the year. And the last one we call expenditures of federal awards, which is on page 70 and 71. This is the schedule required for what you've spent in federal funds in the fiscal year. You spent in excess of $750,000, and so you were required to have what we refer to as a single audit, which is because of the federal funds that you received and spent. So that, and then there's a couple letters back behind that about some of the internal controls and controls in relation to the federal funding and with schedule of findings after that, but there's really nothing in the findings as far as any problem areas where that goes. It's just certain things we have to comment on that generally just saying you were in compliance with those type of things. Our actual report that we express our opinion on is that again at the front of the report, pages 5 through 7. We've expressed an unmodified opinion on the primary government of the city of Oskaloosa, which, but you also have, there's paragraphs you may see in there where it talks about adverse opinion. That has to deal with the fact that as it has been for years, that the waterworks is not incorporated into this audit. They're
separate entity, but they're still under the essentially the control of the city council via the fact that the council appoints the board for the waterworks, but that's not it's not brought into this audit report and hasn't been as far back as I can remember anyhow. But as I said, we gave you an unmodified opinion on the primary government, which is the type of opinion that you want to have. An unmodified opinion means we didn't modify the opinion for something that wasn't properly presented or wasn't correct about it. As I mentioned before, there weren't really any findings of any problem areas that the city had with the finances for last year or the reporting. Kind of an overall, as far as some of the numbers or percentage, whatever, the cash balances as a whole were up about 9.2%, with the biggest increase occurring in the sewer funds. Part of that's also due to sewer projects that are still ongoing that you haven't necessarily expended all of that funding for that for the sewer projects that are still going on, or were still going on as of June 30th anyhow. The general funds also increased some. Part of it had to do with you got a good size payment from the county dealing with the library. That was more than what you hadn't gotten any of the year before, as far as that goes. Overall, your receipts increased by about $2 million or 10%. A lot of that had to do with the fact that because you borrowed some money for the sewer projects, but about $1.4 million was borrowed for that. And overall, your disbursements increased about $1.7 million, or just under 10%, and most of that increase again was from the sewer project costs that you had. Overall, your debt load was down a little bit, $641,000, or about 3.3%. That's just due to normal payments on the debt that came due during the year, and you paid more off than what you borrowed during the year, so your overall debt load was down. Overall, the city appears to be continuing a good, sound financial position. So that's kind of what I was intending to highlight. Certainly welcome to try and answer any questions if anybody has any questions.
Lisa?
Could you clarify the public library? You said something about a payment from the county. Could you clarify that, please?
We didn't
We don't
That
see
was
one.
I don't know, I know the details on it. I don't know if Amy could
We received
explain that better.
for fiscal year 2023.
23, we did not receive payment, and we received 2 payments last
So we
year.
did 1 year.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard. Yep.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion of support for paying the bills to the CPA firm and also to the auditor of state?
Second.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Ibrahim?
Yes.
Ocean?
Yes.
Allman?
Yes.
Calgery?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Hermson?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item C. This is to consider a motion to approve payment for work completed to the to North American Specialty Insurance Company. It's in the amount of $56,940.28. So this is for the 100% completion in the interim agreement, that's number 2B, that's related to the exterior punch list at the Early Childhood and Recreation Center. So back on May 20th, we entered into an interim agreement with the insurance company to complete the exterior punch list. Per the agreement, 50% to be paid upon 50% completion of the scope of work, and that payment was approved and paid on September 24th. The remaining 50% is to be paid for the 100% completion of the scope of work. Graphite has completed the work and is seeking payment. Important to note, staff is recommending approval of the payment, not just because Graphite asked for it.
It's important.
Yeah. Do we have a motion of support?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ocean,
Yes.
Almond,
Yes.
Valentine,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item D. This is consider resolution approving amendment number 3 to the Oskaloosa amended and restated urban renewal plan. Worthy of note, the city uses tax increment financing, or TIF, to fund public improvements and incentivize development and redevelopment projects that generate public gains and benefits. Developer Edmondson North LLC, also known as ATI Realty, proposed an infill residential development on a vacant 5-acre tract at the northwest corner of 11th Avenue West and South H Street. The subdivision includes approximately 19 single-family residential lots and $1.06 million in public improvements, including a street, utilities, and recreation trail. This resolution amends the boundary of the existing Oskaloosa urban renewal area to remove and create a new residential urban renewal area specifically for the Edmondson North project and associated improvements. Additionally, proposed amendment adds and authorizes anticipated and future development projects to be part of the urban renewal area plan. Development agreements will be presented to council for authorization and approval separately and at a later date, and that's including the Jefferson School Lofts LP, and that's a grant not to exceed $750,000 for 42 affordable housing units at the former Jefferson School, and that'll be substantially complete by 2027, we think. Industrial Development LLC, that's a grant not to exceed $1 million, and that constructs an approximately 153,000 square foot parking structure and improvements along 2nd Avenue and reconstruction of a city parking lot. And number 3, future development agreements not to exceed $10 million for other projects that are consistent with the plan. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed the proposed Edmondson North Urban Renewal Plan, found it consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and its objectives. So this requires a public hearing. I will open the public hearing at this time. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Do we have a motion of support for this resolution?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? A lot of neat things going on. Roll call, please.
Almond,
Yes.
Valentine,
Yes.
Dross,
Abstain?
Thompson,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item E. This is to consider a resolution determining an area of the city to be an economic development area and that the rehabilitation, conservation, redevelopment, development, or a combination thereof of such area is necessary in the interest of the public health, safety, or welfare of the residents of the city, designating such area as appropriate for urban renewal projects and adopting the Edmondson North Urban Renewal Plan. We mentioned all of the details in the previous item. So this resolution creates the new urban renewal area and allows the use of TIF to assist the project and construction of associated improvements. So the P&Z reviewed the proposed Edmondson North Renewal Plan. Measured to be consistent with the city's comprehensive plan. View project costs, and staff is comfortable with that request. So we still need to have a public hearing, however, having to do with this resolution. So I'll open it. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this? Okay, seeing none, I'll close it. Do we have a motion of support for this resolution?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Valentine,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Almond,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Also, I want to announce to the audience as well that the public hearing and consideration of the development agreement with Edmondson North LLC is postponed to Monday, December 2nd of 2024. That's at 6 o'clock, and please reflect this in the minutes. Going on to item F. To consider a resolution authorizing a contract between the City of Oskaloosa and Russ Franzen the Early Childhood Education and Rec Center. We've got an ongoing contract with Russ for removal of snow at the City Childhood Education, Early Childhood Education and Recreation Center, located 1521 Green Street. The city performs this snow removal as part of the long-term operating agreement between the city and the Mahasset County YMCA. Staff and Mr. Franzen have discussed the status of the project, would like to extend the contract for 3 additional years at the same rates. Snow removal, $100 per man-hour, sand, $150 a ton, and salt de-icer, that's applied, $350 per ton. It is, staff is recommending we approve the contract. Do we have a motion of support for this?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
So normally our guys do the city.
That's why we have some contracts. They can get to, they have priority
Okay.
areas. This is basically a building, so it goes on the contract to this.
Okay.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Dross,
Yes.
Hermson,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Almond,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item G. This is to consider a resolution approving and authorizing payment of an interim agreement 2C with the North American Specialty Insurance Company and Graphite Construction. This is related to the Early Childhood Education and Recreation Center under a reservation of rights. So on May 20th, the City of Oskaloosa entered into interim agreement 2C with the insurance company and Graphite Construction for the release of retaining
This gets us paid in full through all the interim agreements that we've had, and that gets us to the point to where we've entered the contract with Canco to fix the pools.
Yes.
So,
This is the last payment.
I was gonna
reservation
ask.
of price.
just to clarify, this is the very last payment to Graphite.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Hermson,
Yes.
Ibrahim,
Yes.
Ocean,
Yes.
Almond,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Dross,
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item H. This is to consider an ordinance rezoning property located at 1507 3rd Avenue East from a CC, Community Commercial, to GC, General Commercial District. Bremen Tree Service has applied to rezone the property at 1507 3rd Avenue East from CC to GC. Rezoning accommodates a new headquarters building on the site, and then this is the third reading, and so repeating what's been done on the first 2 readings. It is a former brick plant and brownfield site that's unlikely to be redeveloped with new housing. The comprehensive plan's future land use map recommends park the amount of vacant land zoned for comparable development is decreased. And so this rezoning helps maintain a competitive land market that promotes economic development. And finally, it's consistent with the stated purposes of the zoning ordinance. Do we have a motion of support for this third reading?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on it? Roll call, please.
Ibrahim?
Yes.
Ocean?
Yes.
Almond?
Yes.
Alger?
Yes.
Dross?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item I. This is to consider an ordinance to amend Chapter 10.48 having to do with parking regulations. And this is over at, let's see here, Stadium Drive. So staff is recommending an ordinance amending 1048 for parking restrictions on Stadium Drive end-to-end at of the existing pavement. Ordinance adds additional no parking restrictions on Stadium Drive to the end of the new to be constructed, and parking would be allowed on the north side of the road in the designated angled parking stalls. Proposed amendment will update the text in 10.48.240, saying that on .165 Stadium Drive, it's the north side from Green Street to 1,300 feet west of Green Street. On the north side from 750 feet to the city limits, and also on the south side from Green Street to the city limits. This is the third reading. Do we have a motion of support?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on it? Roll call, please.
Ocean?
Yes.
Almond?
Yes.
Alger?
Yes.
Dross?
Yes.
Urmson?
Yes.
Ibrahim?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. That gets us to the end of our regular agenda. Opportunity for information from council and staff. City manager, anything?
Your Honor, it's always great to show appreciation for the people who show up every day to make a difference. Last week, we got a very nice card from the university thank you for staff and what they do. So I'd like to personally thank them for this nice gesture.
Okay. Very good. Do you care to name anybody in particular, or leave it at that? We'll leave it at that. Okay. City attorney, anything?
The only thing I might mention, just kind of a shout out actually to you and Sean Christ, we'd had, as I mentioned to you earlier, the award and dedication ceremony today at Chuck and Emily Russell's house. Certainly, long-time former residents, great citizens, active community citizens, and your comments and Sean's comments were very well done, very good comments. Certainly a worthwhile event.
Very
And
kind
that's
of
it.
you. Yeah, I always hate following Sean because he kind of sets the bar. Council members, Lisa.
Yes, I wanted to thank, Halloween here is just wonderful in our neighborhood. I think we had a count of over 1,200 kids. So for 2 hours, they were a little bit early, but it was fast and furious. And anyway, so it's great fun. People do not believe that we go all out in this town for Halloween, but it's true.
Joe?
Nothing.
Okay. Janet?
Yes, I have a couple items for events happening. I know that Angie and Beth went through some of them for the Chamber and Main Street already, but just want to remind everybody that the turning on the lights is happening November 23rd from 5:30 to 8 p.m. So please join us in the square. Merry Little Downtown Christmas is Saturday, November 30th, 5:30 to 7:30. So that's the weekend of Thanksgiving. So also bring your family if they're in town with you. And then the Lighted Christmas Parade, it's the 36th annual Lighted Christmas Parade, Saturday, December 7th at 7 p.m. And the theme is Twinkling Christmas, so make sure you get your plans ready for that as well.
Wow. It's going to be a magical time. Mr. Drost.
I've got about 6 pages of notes here tonight, so no, I'm not going to read it all. I think number one from our work session that we had earlier, Mark, thank you for your comments. I think those are all very important points to be made. And I just want to be clear that when I say that we should explore options, That does not mean that we explore options in exchange for a substandard service. If we can't get
Right.
if we can't get the same level of service, then it's an absolute no. But as my role as a councilman, and I think my fellow council people would agree, it's our responsibility to be responsible, make sure we're making responsible decision with tax dollars. We understand what those options are, but those are definitely items that need to be taken into consideration, so thank you. Scott and Dave, thank you for coming and speaking. It's much appreciated. I don't think that happens enough, so thank you. The question about public hearings being required and other people given a chance, I was just thinking a little bit ago, Scott, if you want to buy City Hall, please make an offer to Amy Miller, and we as a council will consider that. But I think it's probably more common than what people think of offers being made for government-owned property and real estate. And then there, at least in the city, from the city perspective, there's always a public hearing if there is a sale of real estate, right, David?
By state law, there has to be.
By state law.
Yes.
So last council meeting, we had a public hearing on a vacation and sale of an alley. Whether it's an alley or it's 20 acres, which the city doesn't own much more than that, I think, outside of where we've got our buildings, that is required. So there is always that opportunity for other people to be involved in that process. So I just want to be clear on that. I don't know if it's different for a school or not. I'm not a school board member. I'm not a school attorney either, so I'll stay out of the middle of that. I do want to address some comments that I've heard about the land at the high school, about land swaps, about annexation, about certain developers. And I've been told things are happening behind closed doors, and I think it's just really important. I just want to outline public meetings that have happened and discussions that we've been involved in. I mean, I know there's times where certain members of council or the school board may not have been able to attend the meetings, but I just want to make clear that everybody understands this. So on September 10th, the school board and the city council, full board and council, had a public work session after the school's regularly scheduled September board meeting. And the purpose of that meeting was to talk about potential partnership in a land swap, talked about housing in that conversation. Okay, there's no decision made. It was putting options on the table. What are the school board and council's tolerance for certain things and desire to partner together. So that happened on the 10th. I believe the school had a follow-up work session at their meeting on the 24th of September. At the city council's October 7 board meeting, we passed a resolution of support for acres, which in the council agenda was locating properties, that we agreed that we should support them as we can to provide much needed housing in the community. That's all it was. It wasn't committing to a certain level of incentive. It wasn't confirming there's a project, but I think we all know discussions have happened, and that's our voice of support so that they can continue planning whatever that may be. Then the next night, on the 8th of October, the school board authorized the Superintendent Mike Fisher to enter negotiations with the city for a potential land swap. And essentially that was just to the board's support to continue those conversations. So that happened on the 8th. And also on the 8th is when the school board authorized the superintendent again to start the process of annexation of that school property. I believe it's 135, 140, 100 and a lot of acres. And 120? 220 acres. And that's all land north of the high school. It's all contiguous property, some of it's timber. I found it interesting as I look at city limits that of the north tennis courts, the three easternmost tennis courts in the baseball field are actually in the county. And so, but that happened in open session on the 8th, the meeting of the school board. And then related to the annexation and why the notices were recently just sent out last week or the week before, at our last council meeting on the 21st, we set a public hearing to consider the annexation of that property at our meeting on November 18th. So 2 weeks from tonight, there will be a public hearing. And that's the public's opportunity to speak on that, whether you agree, disagree. I think we had one public hearing tonight, and nobody cared to speak. So, and that's when most of them go, but that would be a time to share your comments publicly. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody here, everybody watching on TV or wherever we watch it now, just knows that those are meetings, open discussions in public meetings. Related to that project, I won't go into a whole lot of detail here, but a council person that I reached out to about who is from a city where this type of development currently exists. And we all know that with the housing assessment, the most recent housing assessment we completed at the end of 22, I think we as a council received and accepted it in January of 23. All types of housing are needed. I think we as a council and past councils have agreed Section 8 housing we don't need more of. I think we have our fill of that, and that's been stated publicly. Love Tom Walling. He used to always say, "Is this Section 8 housing?" No, it's not. Thank you. I just had to ask. Okay, love Tom Walling. But whether it's rental housing, owner-occupied housing, workforce housing, whether it's $800 a month rent, whether it's $1,500 a month rent, $2,000 a month rent, it's needed. Whether it's $150,000 housing or $500,000-$600,000 housing, there's a need for that. And this councilman, I thought he had some good insight. I'm just going to share it with everybody. It says if workforce housing is a need in Oskaloosa, the study that was done in 2020, 2022-23, I believe it's true. But if workforce housing is a need, you have to remember the old adage that done is better than perfect. And on top of that, with workforce housing, he says you have to realize that housing is not going to be built to the Marge Edition standards, to that level of housing, and especially not Fox Run. It's a different demographic. And when I think of that demographic, I've said this numerous times in our meetings, I think of my daughter, 23 years old, graduated Iowa State with a 4-year degree a year and a half ago. She's that demographic that would qualify what I see as workforce housing. And I have to remember that 30 years ago when I was in the stage of life that she was, it's a lot different than it is today. And I'm thankful that it's a lot different today than it was 30 years ago. But his parting comment was, if you wait for the perfect situation to do this, it will probably never get done. And as city leadership needs to be looking ahead, looking in the future to understand how the lack of housing may impact the development of the community. And I'm not going to sit here today and say that the developments of how do we provide housing in our community? And if we don't, we're going to continue to lose workforce to Knoxville, to Grinnell, Ottumwa, and all of that. So what's the right answer? I don't know, but I know in my 6 years on council, one of the top council priorities in our strategic plan that we have right now, housing is a priority, and we need to understand how we accomplish that. And I have to understand that that's not just single family housing. It's not just housing for doctors. It's housing for those recent college graduates. It's housing for the restaurant workers. It's housing for the people in the manufacturing. My comments, I think that was only 3 pages, not 6. So thank you again, Scott, Dave, thank you. And Dave, I want you to know I do appreciate the conversations we've had, and I think that those conversations have provided a lot of value. I think Sean would echo those comments, so thank you.
Well, I'm not going to go as long as you, but I wasn't here. I wasn't here on the October 7th vote, so I'll start with that. But I want to mention 3 things. So I actually was supposed to meet with the EMA director, and I didn't make it because I've been very busy with work. But I am going to sit down and learn about with Josh. And so I appreciate the things that you brought up, because I've had 14 phone calls and 72 emails about Rhonda. This is what you really need to know. So I appreciate just the I even talk to you afterwards. So I am on my own going to find out more, because I know, and I work for services in this community too, we're not going to shorten we're not going to shortcut anything. I'm not going to shortcut anything. Housing, I wasn't here for the October 7th vote. I am a council member, and I am always on the out. I do think there's a need for housing. I absolutely think there's a need for housing. In my neighborhood, the houses don't stay on the market 5 minutes. However, I feel like, and I hear a lot from the people in my ward, and I'm representing my ward, that we need to be a little bit particular about housing. I understand Bob's point about waitresses and nurses and people of that, but I think when you pop the hill at that school, and my husband works for the school, so it's beautiful. They've done a great job with branding and yards, and it looks fantastic. I would question that being put next to a school. Traffic, we have enough traffic with the kids parking and hitting themselves in the parking lot. Traffic, and it's just, I have a lot of issues. So I even though I sit here, I'm only 1 vote, but I'm very glad that you guys are here. I appreciate all the phone calls. I appreciate all the emails. I try to get back to you guys as soon as I can. I do have to work for a living during the day, so on my lunch break, no, I've been on the phone for 50 hours in the last 4 days. I appreciate it. So I just want you to know, please keep voicing your opinions, because there is 7 people on this board, and not all 7 people think the same. My last thing, my dad was in the military 12 years, and he was in the Navy, and tomorrow you can vote. If you haven't already, I already did. It's the one time that you can do that, because you can't if you don't. That's what I always say. So please, no matter what side you sit on, please get out and vote.
I'm going to echo a couple of things. Again, hearing from the public is awesome. Again, particularly here in the meeting, where we, get to hear you officially, and it's all on record. So I think that's awesome to hear. Can you do that? And then voting, it's a beauty. So get out there tomorrow and vote.
Yeah, and to extend the meeting even longer, yeah.
How many pages do you have?
And Dave touched on it earlier, that we had an opportunity to put the historic place plaque on the side of the Chuck and Emily Russell house earlier today. Among the people in attendance there was Mark Willett. And so, okay. Cloud Valve donated the plaque that goes on the side of the house. And it's a nice plaque, and I just, didn't really appreciate it until she mentioned, oh, by the way, this plaque weighs over 30 pounds. And it's being held in place with 4 lag screws, and this thing will probably weather and do very well. And it's reflective of the attitude that the Russells had in the construction of the house, that they built something very special, and it's been very well maintained, and it's wonderful to be able to designate it that way. But probably more important was the contribution that they made to the community as a whole. That over the years, Chuck, of course, was a previous mayor, and his involvement in many of the projects that were going on in Oskaloosa, as an historian, showing the progression of how things went from one state to better yet. And then when Emily was here on the city council, I was blessed to be on the council with her as well. And the diplomacy that they would use in saying, we need to be changing this for the better, we need to do this differently, But it was more of a nudge, and this is the right thing to do, as opposed to trying to hammer on and say, yes, this has to be done, and you're just the person to do it. Probably the thing that stuck out the most, though, is that you start understanding that there is a series of events that take place in Oskaloosa's history. It's a story, and there are events that keep going and carrying us forward, progressing. And from time to time, the progress isn't going to be smooth, it's going to be in surges. We're going through one of those surges now, where we see a lot of economic development all of a sudden coming together. And I look out into the audience and I see people that are responsible for that. That they were the ones who were having the conversations and encouraging the development. And so we're growing our businesses. The city of Oskaloosa is growing its population when many of the cities in Iowa of our size, in our general locations in rural Iowa, are not. It's happening because of well-intentioned, well-informed people putting their skills to work for the benefit of the community. Along that line is going to be, what about housing? All of the conversations that we've been hearing over and over again about how we've got the businesses, we've got the jobs, we just need the people. How do we recruit them to this area? And so I'm watching and seeing teams coalesce to make it possible for Oskaloosa to continue to develop, and housing is one of those big ones. With housing is that virtual cycle that comes more tax dollars, here comes more need for services at the same time, and restrictions that are placed on us by the state that say, yes, we don't really care how much you grow, you can only spend this much, you can only tax this much. And so there's a pinch going on. It's happening to the city of Oskaloosa, it's happening to Mahaska County as well. We each have to react in our own way to it. So, but as we were finishing up at the Russell House, one of the things that touched my heart was Kate went over to the wall and took down that drawing of the bandstand. In Chuck's handwriting on the back of it, it says, this drawing from John Stout, 1988, was purchased and placed in recognition of the renovation of the bandstand in 1988-89. And so she handed it, displayed it, put it on a chair for others to see, and then said, we would like to give this to the city of Oskaloosa. Please take it as a gift and put it in some place where it can be appreciated. And so I wanted to voice my thanks for the care that the Russell family has given to Oskaloosa, and with one parting shot, put up something a little more permanent inside City Hall itself. So please vote tomorrow. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.